It is spooky season, and I must review this film as a tethered person. Is is the review of Us? I'm not gonna do that review the whole time. That would be really obnoxious. But that was my best Lupita Nyong'o. Lupita stars in this film along with Winston Duke, Elizabeth Moss, Tim Heidecker. That I gotta say that's a that's a casting choice. Yahya Abdul Mateen, Anna Diop, just basically Lupita Nyong'o though. We're being really honest. That's the reason to see this film. And this film came out a couple of years ago. It's my second time moving through it, so I have some different thoughts. Probably going to be some spoilers in here, but this film's a couple of years old, so it's a a little while ago. So I think probably you either know where critics stand on Us or you don't at this point. But I felt like we should talk about it. This is my first time watching Us for the second time. I've seen Get Out too many times, so I decided, I was like, why don't I watch Us again? I could get a new fresh opinion on Us, and share that for spooky season. It's currently on Netflix, and it has audio description. I was a little disappointed in how the audio description sounded from the beginning. Just in, like, the quality could just be a transfer thing for Netflix, but the quality of how it transferred, it did not sound solid. Like, Netflix's products, when they come out, have like audio description that sounds like on point. The audio description for Us sounded like it was very mono, if that makes any sense. It had a completely different sound to it. It goes away. That effect goes away after a few minutes into the film. So, after that, I didn't have a problem with it. It's well done audio description. I was like, why does it sound so weird? Why does it sound like it's in a completely different? It probably was. It was probably recorded in a completely different recording format. Either that, or else it was uploaded in one. So, one of two things happened. But I would perhaps, I mean, if you could watch this somewhere else but Netflix, maybe try that, because maybe it sounds better somewhere else. But I sadly did my second rewatch on Netflix. So, what's up with Us? Well, Us is a lot of things. Us is a Jordan Peele story. So he's here to, show us his masterclass in filmmaking. And after having seen this film set now twice, it's funny how once you know what the big twists are, and they don't mystify you so much, you start looking at the details, and you're like, wait a minute. And you're just like, hold up. Jordan and I need to have a talk. He is asking me to suspend my disbelief without any explanation on some certain things here. So, let's get into that. The film opens with a young girl who is sort of like wandering around a crappy carnival theme park-ish thing that's on a boardwalk. I don't know what to call those. With her parents, and she wanders in somewhere, and she sees something that could change her life forever. Then we flash forward to the adult version of that, and that's when we get introduced to Lupita Nyong'o and her family, with her husband played by Winston Duke, and she has two kids, and they are on vacation, and they're out there with their friends, who are played by Elizabeth Moss and Tim Heidecker, and their two daughters, and they're just like living their best lives. This is just what they're doing. They're just hanging out. They're chilling. And having fun at the house and talking about going out on boats and just, you know, doing some fun things. And then all of a sudden, they look outside and they're like, "There's a family in our front yard. There's a family at the end of the driveway." And that's when the little kid, I believe Jordan is his name. He looks up and he says, "They look like us, or they're us." I'm like, oh shit! He dropped the movie title. So yeah, they're like this weird sort of like prehistoric version of this family, just like a mirrored version, but less kempt and more homeless looking, I guess. I don't know. This very just sort of like not. They look. They don't look very good. They're having some problems. Just not quite on the level. But they're trying to like look like they match the family. They are the family. I mean, like identically, just with some changes, little changes along the way. And then we start having sort of like, it becomes sort of like a home invasion movie where they end up sort of like fighting each other off. Each person fights the other person off. They fight their doppelganger off. The only one, interestingly, that can speak is Lupita Nyong'o's double, who we call Red. The narration calls Red, which is just sort of like an interesting choice for a name, but we'll go with it. She's Red. And there's a lot of like symbolism here in terms of her name being Red, and then also like the jumpsuits that they pass out all being red. It's like everybody's red. Jordan, I think his name was Jordan. It might have been Justin. Jordan or Justin, the little boy, is a magician, and there's he keeps trying to do this thing with fire, and later on he sees that his doppelganger sort of has a little bit of a burned face, and it's sort of interesting to see how that parallel has worked out. And they do this thing with rabbits throughout the thing. You have a kid that is featured quite prominently who is really trying to be a magician, and there's stuff with rabbits happening through the film, which ties both into his character. It's symbolism for his character as the rabbits pop out, you know, towards the end of the film when she's trying to find him, there's a little rabbit that hops out of the hole, and it's also hopping out of the direction which she needs to head, almost like, oh, my magician son is down there with the rabbit that he pulled out of his head, you know. It's just like, and it's funny too, I was thinking about the rabbit symbolism in terms of how basically at the very beginning this girl travels sort of down through this into this tunnel, almost like Alice does when she follows a rabbit down into Wonderland. So there are so many like weird symbolism things here that Jordan plays with, that I was thinking about, like the red and what it matches to, and how it comes up in the choice, because that name is definitely a choice, not a thing. That is not her actual name, as we come to learn in the film. I love how high of a billing Elizabeth Moss has in this film for all of like 5 seconds that she's in it. It's like third billing, and she's in this film for, I don't know, like a fart. She just like kind of, she's she has like a couple lines, and then she's in like another scene where she has like a couple lines, and then she's just dead. Like her doppelganger family has no problem dispatching their twins. Um, we white people are not very good at fighting doppelgangers. It's a common fact. We just, when we see them, we're just like, come and kill us. We do not understand what's going on. Please, we will die now in your film. We're just terrible at it. So they just, there's no hesitation at all. Tim Heidecker is just, he's like, I don't know. She's like, I heard something. I think there's something outside. And Tim's like, I don't know. It's probably just like pizza delivery or something. Like he just doesn't even. It's like, you don't care if you're getting pizza. I couldn't relate to this family at all. It's just like the second time through, I was just like the first time you're like, it's like really tense, but then when you know the moments are coming and happening, you're just like, God damn, he's lazy. Like, just get the fuck up, dude. You're making everybody look terrible. When he said that, he's like, I don't know, maybe the girls ordered some pizza. Do you not want pizza? Is your goal in life to just like let the pizza guy like come to the door and just ring it, and then you guys just never go to the door? There's also some really funny stuff. I love it when Elizabeth Moss is trying to use like one of those AI devices. We have one of those smart speakers that she has that's not one that's branded like we have in real life. I can't remember what it was called, but she tries to get it to call the police. Instead it plays Fuck the Police by NWA. There's some fun choices here that Jordan Peele makes. The girl who Lupita Nyong'o's, the girl who plays Lupita Nyong'o's daughter in this film, is asking early on, she's like, I want to drive. And they're like, no. And of course she gets a chance to drive in this film. So yeah, there's a lot of anything that gets brought up seems to come back around. They're like, this is going to be important later, just so that you know. Pay attention. Pay attention to what I'm doing. I'm Jordan Peele, pay attention to me. And we come back around to these things later on. It's interesting because I think there was a lot of pressure on him with this film because Get Out was so successful that for us, he was like, God, what do I do? How do I level up? How do I bring this to the next level? And some of it is weird. Some of it doesn't make any sense. Some of it the second time around, I was like, eh. Some of it, But there's one thing that happens in this film that is undeniable, and that's Lupita Nyong'o's performance. And a lot of people were upset that she missed out on an Oscar nomination. I still think she missed out on an Oscar nomination. Like, that is an absolute certainty. Rewatching this performance, it's really hard to not appreciate, even with all of the little glitches that Jordan Peele has in this film, Lupita is not one of them. Lupita is fire the whole film. She is dominating. Her performance as Addie, the human version of herself, and then Red as the tethered version, at least how we're introduced to them. Two completely different characters. And then Red is one hell of a performance. Just being Red alone is almost like, how does she not get nominated just for being Red? I feel that voice that I tried to do at the very beginning of my video, the voice that Lupita does so well. It's a weird choice, I'll be honest, but I have a feeling it was something that her and Jordan agreed on, and that's how we got to it. But when we get to the ending, where we learn that what happened was that those two girls switched. So basically, the real Red is now living in the real world. The formerly tethered, she got out. She switched with her component. She broke the tether and flipped it and sent the real girl, Addie, the real Addie, back down to be with the tethered. And so she's been living up in the real world. But she was of an age where she would have known how to speak. And it's just very weird that that's the voice that came out after all these years. With like little explanation, I would have enjoyed seeing more about the tethered. We get a little video of them sort of mimicking the people at the carnival and how that is going on, and the dancing she got to mimic. There isn't really much explanation as to how we reverse tethered. You know what I'm saying? Like how Addie learned to dance, even though she's not a tethered, like a real tethered. Like how, when you're down there, do you just feel the spirit? Do you just feel the power? How did she become tethered? Instead of just like a girl lost among a sea of tethered who couldn't get out, who couldn't escape. Because the second is way more terrifying. The first is just more like, I was under the magic spell, damn it, and it sucked. And I finally got out of it. The second is like, scientifically, I need like an explanation as to like how this became. Probably the one thing in the film that I noticed the most the second time around was, where did all of those jumpsuits come? Those incredibly specific jumpsuits come from? And then, more importantly, the scissors. How the fuck do you get that many scissors when you live as underground cave people? Everyone has scissors. They even show you a little bit of the tethered, and they're all getting like these, like their uniforms and the scissors before they go out and like just start murdering everybody. And I'm like, where did you get that many scissors if none of you guys go above ground? Like, people are not losing that many pairs of scissors. They're just not. And even if you guys are tied to the carnival, who's bringing scissors to a carnival? Like, who would be losing that many scissors at a carnival to be able to arm an army full of people with scissors? I feel like they should have all had different weapons. That is my counter to Jordan Peele. Be like, I'll give you pretty much everything else. I think they all should have had different weapons. I feel like this is a group that kind of is a little bit more scavenger than you're giving them credit for. I don't know that they would have had like hundreds of scissors. It's a very specific thing to have, like a lot of, for these tethereds. Depending on how widespread it is. I mean, we see a little bit of it, but it seems to be like affecting the news. 911 isn't picking up. San Diego's a pretty large city. I'm just gonna say, it's a pretty decent town. So if like even just the tethered of San Diego came out, that's a shit ton of scissors. I mean, that's a really uncomfortable amount of scissors. Like, where did you get them from? Where? There's no explanation. They're just like, yeah, we happen to have all of these matching jumpsuits. And also scissors. One or the other. Pick one or the other. The jumpsuit thing is weird. But it's even weirder to think that the scissors are... Everyone has them. It's just... whatever. This is also a film that works very well because no one has a gun. No one has a gun. If someone was coming at me with a pair of scissors and I had a gun, who wins? The person with the gun. Apparently no one has one. No one in San Diego has a gun. So, yeah, it's a film that also relies heavily on like little things like that. There would have been at least somebody. There's someone walking around somewhere who would have been having, you know, his moment as the hero of the day and be like, "See, I told you, I'm preparing for the worst. I've been, I'm a survivalist, and I'm having my day. All these people with these damn scissors are coming at me, but they can't get near me because my weapon has range." um, yeah, so I mean, there's some things that the second time around I was just sitting there going, maybe this doesn't work as well as I thought the first time. The first time I'm just like, wow, this is really cool. Whoa, my God, what are we doing here? What's happening? What is this? What is going on? And then like you start hearing about like the tethered, and you're like, what is this? Jordan Peele thought this, and like your mind just kind of gets wrapped up in conceptually the tethered, and then in like Lupita Nyong'o's performance, and it's like mind blowing. But then when you rewatch it, you're just like, okay, so now let's get into it. Let's get into the nitty gritty of this. And that's when I started going, oh, it's not like Get Out. I've seen Get Out a couple times, and Get Out doesn't really reduce for me. It's kind of the same. The whole time. I feel like Get Out does a better job of explaining its quirks than Us does. Us just kind of gives you quirks and is like, here's the story of the tethered. I hope that's enough. It's not really, but I don't think it's a bad film, and I'm not gonna just tank my score because of the second rewatch. I kind of have to remember how blown away I was the first time, and how it's quite likely this might be your first time watching Us. But it's very interesting. This is one of those films where you watch it once and you watch it the second time, and you're like, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not perfect. So I still stand by the fact that what Lupita Nyong'o is doing is quite impressive as a performer, and if anything should have come of this, it should have been nominations thrown at her and her work. Audio description wise, this is one of those ones that's challenging because of the doppelganger version. There's always they find new ways of sort of describing the other versions of, because they haven't used the term tethered until later in the film, so they have to use different versions to describe the doppelgangers, as and it's very interesting how they make those choices. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on Us after the second viewing. I liked some of the symbolism, which I really started to notice with Jordan Peele's thing, and some of the stuff that he was putting in there. But at the same time, once I started asking questions, I was like, where did they get all those scissors from? Where did they get all those jumpsuits from? We're not gonna know? No story about that. Okay, cool. Well, we're gonna need a prequel then, because I need to know where they got all this shit from. And in the meantime, I still think you should watch Us. If you haven't seen it, if I didn't just ruin it for you, if I did ruin it for you, it's been out for a while. So, and the funny thing is, I've actually heard people talking about the twist to Us sort of openly, almost like it's like a film that was made 20 years ago where we can all talk about it, but it's not that old of a film, but I still feel like people are talking about like the tethered and everything quite openly. So you kind of figure out most of the twists of the film. The rest of it is kind of just in the trailer. The only real twist is the fact that they made the swap, and that's it. That's the thing. But then at the same time, when you look back on it, it's not that big of a twist because she is the only one speaking. So, and they do bother to show you the flashback, and you're like, well, how is it that none of the other tethered are speaking, but she can speak? First of all, shouldn't she have been able to teach them? You know, sort of like she could have been part of the reason why they're all following her up to the top could have been the fact that she taught them how to speak because she was a child but could also speak. So when she was down there, she used what she had learned to give people like basic speech instead of just just like noise. It's just like Winston Duke's guy, just his his version is just It's like, okay, calm yourself, calm down. Yeah, he could have gone that way with it, but we didn't. Instead, we went with the way where her voice, for some reason, is manipulated into I don't would have found you know. I'm gonna end up doing Bane if I keep doing that for too much longer. I'm so close to Bane right now. That's it. I'm done. That's us. The audio description is difficult and they manage it. It just, at the beginning, it just sounded weird. So that's my audio description thought. As far as watching this film, we're going to find a happy medium here between how I felt about the second rewatch and how I felt like the first time. I think this was in a weird period where it was in this period where I had just lost my vision and I wasn't reviewing films, so I didn't actually, there is no official review of this. I would have said maybe like an A- because I think I would have given Get Out an A, and I feel like Us was just a slight step backward from that. But I'm going to go with a B+ this time around. I kind of noticed some different holes the second time around. So it's really like an A- B+ film. I think it's better than Nope. But I don't think it's as good as Get Out. I kind of am worried that maybe Peele is headed in the wrong direction. I want to rewatch Nope and see whether or not Nope goes up or down for me. So, anyway, that's us. If for no other reason, Lupita Nyong'o's performance is worth watching. The film, you can make up your own mind. Do the things bother you? Do they not bother you? It's not terribly violent. It is somewhat violent, but it's not terribly violent. And it's creepy enough to qualify as a Halloween movie for spooky season. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I have a website, MacTheMovieGuy.com. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or Threads at MacTheMovieGuy. You can go to the Audio Description Project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to theADNA.org. That's theADNA.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. That's it. I will see you guys on the other side. Or the tethered side. Maybe I'm tethered. You don't know.